For Lake Fork Bass Fishing Live. It's top 5 baits. Tonight we might go over the limit because we're going to talk about fishing at Lake Fork and our other East Texas lakes. We're also going to talk briefly about fishing power plant lakes, kind of set you guys up because I know some of y'all are going to be doing that. We got a cold front coming once again on the weekend. It seems to do that more times than not. When we get to the winter, it seems like the cold fronts blow in right before or during the weekend. You guys are going to have a tough morning Saturday morning as far as getting out there in that rain, but we're going to try and help you through it the best we can. As y'all get in here, do me a favor. Hey, if you enjoy these videos that we do, hit that thumbs up. Also, drop me a comment. Let me know who's in here tonight. I would love to say hello to all you guys that are joining us. I see we have Bryant White in here early. Sean Bowen, 6 Mile. JC's here. Daniel Johnson, JD, Southeast Bassin TV. We got some early arrivers. Steve Chastain, Big John. Hey, tomorrow night, it's going to be Merry Christmas. It's going to be Merry Christmas tomorrow night. Come to Lake Fork Marina, 6 p.m. We're going to have a free seminar. We're going to be discussing fishing topics like we always do, in depth. You guys can ask questions live in person, hang out a little bit, yuck it up a little bit, whatever we want to do. But also, I'm going to be doing some giveaways and some pretty big giveaways out of my personal tackle stash. So you guys make sure you join us tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. if y'all are available to come by. We would love to meet you. If you want some giveaways, you got to be there in person. That's the deal. Brandon Lucas said, I fished today and smell like a skunk. It can happen to you this time of year. There's no doubt. Let's see if we can help some of that. The thumbnail says she always eats the jig. Man, that's true. She always eats the jig. But let me tell you guys something about jig fishing in the winter. You can miss the boat real quick. The deal about jig fishing in the winter is to do it effectively, you got to have confidence in it, you got to stick to it, you got to fish for a handful of bites a day, and you got to fish extremely, extremely, extremely slow. Now, that being said, if you fish extremely slow in the wrong stretch of creek channel, you can see how that can go wrong really quickly and cause you to have a bad day if you're jig fishing in the wintertime. But if you fish extremely slow in the right creek channel, you can get 5 to 10 bites and you can get a 30-pound bag on Lake Fork. No, I mean, it can happen. Legitimately, it can happen. So that's going to lead us off. We might as well show you the very jig that's in the thumbnail. The jig that is hanging out of the head of that old big in the thumbnail is this jig right here. That's a 1/2 ounce 6-cent hybrid jig, black and blue with a black and blue stroker crawl. I have been fishing this jig on a lot of rocks. You guys saw the hummingbird video where I was dragging it over some rock piles that we found on the 360 on Monday. As you can see, we have put that jig's been down the road, Jack. She's been beat up, chewed up, tore down, back around the block again. So that 1/2 ounce black and blue jig is probably my personal favorite bait in December and January. For me personally, I like fishing that way. I like to fish a jig. I like that bite. I like fishing for fewer, bigger bites. That's my favorite bait to throw in the wintertime. Here's a good bite relating to the jig. A good question relating to the jig, good bite. That's a little Freudian mess up there, as they say. When does the channel swing bite peak? That's a creek channel swing. Water temp. How long does the pattern last? Are bends better? Yeah, bends are better. The outside of the creek bends are where I focus most of my time on with the steepest drops. That's where I focus most of my time on in the winter. When does it peak? It's kind of the colder it gets, the better that. The colder it gets, the more that bite is the best pattern. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to catch them, but sometimes you get an extreme amount of cold, the fish just don't want to bite at all. But the colder it gets, the more that is your best pattern going. So the peak of it would be just it's cold. Cold. So the coldest water temps. I typically do it mostly, like a lot, in December and January. Still do it some in February, but by the time we get to February, late January, February, we're starting to get a few warming trends around here where I start to creep up on some flats if we get some warm trending water. So December and January are the primary months that I do that creek channel bend jig fishing deal. And a little bit in November too. We started a little bit in November, so there is that. Next bait we're going to talk about will be a lipless crankbait. This is another bait that we've talked about a lot lately. Lipless crankbaits obviously can be very effective. There is some grass in Lake Fork. There is some grass in some of our other lakes. Man, a lipless crankbait is just a great wintertime bait. This is a staple. This is something I will have on the deck of my boat every single day. It's another bait that I can put in my hand, and if I can have if I can be around grass all day, I can throw that lipless crankbait, and I just know in my head, I feel very confident there's no way I'm going to go without catching a fish. I will grind out some bites on a lipless crankbait. Then we're going to save another one for last. Let's transition over to the same baits. We've been talking, I know that these baits really haven't changed, but you know what, guys, the last couple weeks, the conditions haven't really changed. The water has been cold trending or maintaining or then cold trending again, and every time we come to the weekend, it's cold trending. So that's why we keep getting a lot of the same baits thrown up week to week on the top 5 baits. But jerk bait. Jerk bait's a great bait to throw around bridge, corners, and pilings. Also points, timbered points, docks. A jerkbait is an absolute wonderful bait to throw this time of year on any lake, really, on any lake. And of course, y'all know where the next one's going. We're going to talk about the Alabama rig. Alabama rig as well. We're going to throw an Alabama rig around those same bridge pilings and bridge aprons, and also around the right docks and around some timber. If we can see, if the lake's low enough like Fork is right now where you can see the tops of the timber, you can throw that Alabama rig through the timber. One more bait for cold water lakes. I'll never ever forget the day that I took a customer out and he booked the trip in about this, it was about this time of year, I believe. It was mid to late December, and it was a nasty cold day, 20 to 30 mile an hour winds. It was horrible. And I told him it was going to be horrible, and he said, "That's all right. I'm more interested in learning techniques. It's not about the fish we catch." I said, "Okay, fine. You know, as long as you understand, it's going to be tough." And we went out there, and I believe we grinded all day, and we did some technique-specific stuff and kind of force-fed the fish a little bit on stuff just to learn those techniques that they weren't necessarily biting. And I don't think we either caught 1 or 2 little ones, or we just didn't catch. Maybe we didn't catch any. I don't remember. But it was just, I remember feeling terrible about the day. Got done that day. Had a couple hours left in the day, a couple hours of light left in the day. When I dropped the customer off, I went over to my buddy Zach Watts' camp, and he wanted to go out because he just got in town. So I went out mostly just to ride around with him, let him jump in my boat, and we took off. And he picks up the wacky worm, of course, because that's what Zach throws all the time. And all of a sudden, we caught like 5 or 6 fish or something like that in the last hour and a half, 2 hours of daylight. Me and Zach went out the next morning and caught more fish on a wacky worm. So no matter how tough it is, sometimes the tougher the better. The wacky worm is a bait that you definitely want to have tied on when things are challenging. Things are going to be challenging this weekend, guys. Another cold trending cold front weekend. Man, you got to have a wacky worm tied on. Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about hot water lakes for just a second, and we'll get to some comments and some questions. Martin Creek is the hot water lake that I fished this week. I haven't been on Brandy Branch, and I haven't been on Welsh this week. At Martin Creek, the frog bite is good in spurts. It's not just go in there and throw it around the obvious cover and catch them all day on a frog. But in spurts, especially if they're pumping, if you see all 3 stacks going at Martin Creek, you can catch them on a frog. Absolutely catch them on a frog. This is the frog I've been doing the best on. I've been throwing the 6-inch Vega frog in this Frogville color as well as white. I've been throwing a white frog as well out there. It's fun. Hey, Monday I had 7 casts in a row with a bite on a frog. 7 for 7. 7 casts in a row. That's pretty cool. That doesn't happen that often, even in good weather in the spring or whatever. 7 casts in a row. So another bait that I've been throwing out at Martin Creek that's been really good for me is the brand new whale swim bait from 6 Sense Fishing. This is a great new little swim bait right here. It's got the little fins on the side. Look at that, just a nice little touch there. But the whale swim bait, been throwing on a 5-aught on a flashy swimmer, throwing it in the old, the lily pads that are still there. A lot of them have died off. You got a lot of pad stems. Been throwing it in those areas. I think those fish are in there trying to spawn. And yeah, there you go. Also been just flipping around, just fishing a little bit, throwing little light Texas rig, the hog wallow actually is bait, just little light Texas rig creature bait, the new hog wallow from 6 Sense, and a little bit of weightless plastics, clout stick baits, wacky worm, stuff like that. So it's kind of like early March out there under cold front conditions. It's a little bit tough at times, but it's pretty good fishing overall. And you can catch them on some fun baits like a frog and a swim bait and just plastics, Texas rig, weightless plastics, all that stuff. Good times. Buzzy's in the house with the whole family, dude. That's awesome. Vic Pearsall said they caught 4 today off the new flush. That's awesome. All the new baits that we talked about this last night, so I don't want to go back in on this because we just did a whole long live stream last night on the new baits for 6 cents. But the new flush 5.2, the hog walla, and the whale swim bait. I have actually caught fish already in this week on all 3 of those baits. All 3 of those baits have put fish in my boat this week. 2 of the 3 did it on the first day I had them. What lakes would you fish between Christmas and New Year's? It's going to depend on the weather, but I mean, power plant lakes are going to be your safest bet. And you can go to any of the 3, Welsh, Brandy Branch, or Martin Creek. While it's been cold, it seems like they've been pumping on all of them. Really, really good. The stacks have been running really good on all of them. And they're all 3 fishing pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. There's fish spawning on all 3 of them. That's all the baits we had to go over. Do I fish Lake Palestine? Rarely. Rarely do I fish Lake Palestine. Just got home from work. Want to know what jig I use on an umbrella rig and size? The jig head that I use on an umbrella rig, if I'm using a top hook jig head style, I use an 1/8 ounce, 6 cents Divine swim bait head. That's the one I like to use. I'll also use belly weighted swim baits at times. I like to keep it light as possible on a rig as far as, because you got 5 of them, so I like to keep the lightest weight as I can get away with. Will my pink spinner bait with 7-inch orange fluke work tomorrow? Probably for you, Tim Rhodes. I fished enough with Tim Rhodes. I know that sucker catch a bass on a Cheeto. He does tend to catch them no matter what he throws. I have noticed that about him. But I don't know about the pink spinner bait with the 7-inch orange fluke. That's awesome, J-Bud. That's really cool. Merry Christmas. Yes, Merry Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas to everybody. Yeah, man, like I said, seminar tomorrow night. We're going to be doing giveaways. It's going to be a Merry Christmas atmosphere up there at Lake Fork Marina tomorrow night. Gary Payne just dropped in. Hey, buddy, I appreciate you joining us tonight. I know I'm probably going to see you tomorrow, Gary. We're going to give some good stuff away. We're going to talk about some good fishing stuff and maybe even some other stuff too. So, Tim Rhodes says thumbs up. Throw that orange spinnerbait, Timmy. Just, we need to do like a crazy bait challenge with you. We need to bring you back on the channel and do a crazy bait challenge with you, so we can see just how crazy of stuff you can actually catch fish off of. Jerry Dean's not going to make it. That's too bad, brother. I hate to hear that. We'll catch you at another one, though. Uh-oh, Tim Rhodes on the brown water. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. All right, y'all drop some more questions in here. I'm sure I missed some earlier. If I missed some up in the feed, drop them down below. Or hit them again, and I'll catch them this time around, hopefully. Avery Gatton will be there. That's good. Trout like the orange color. Somebody says trout like the orange color. What's the difference between the 6 cents Quake and their snatch bait? Woo! A lot of difference. The Quake, the big difference for me on the Quake, let me see if I can get this one back over here and I'll show you guys. The big deal to me, and I'm going to be straight up with you guys, I think the Quake is better. I don't have any of the snatch lipless crankbaits in my box at all. I believe in the Quake much more. See how this bait has like a tear here and a teardrop shape here, and it's narrow in the middle? That deal right there, that little shape, causes more vibration, a harder vibration when it's swimming, but the way it has weight here and it's lighter in the middle makes it shimmy on the fall. That's the big deal, because when you snatch that bait out of the grass, there's always a sudden pause, and those baits fall fast, so there's always a sudden pause and drop. And when it shimmies, I've found baits that shimmy on the fall, lipless baits that shimmy on the fall, get more and bigger bites. They have that little extra action on that subtle little fall. And a lot of times that's the moment. I don't know if you've ever seen underwater footage of a bait getting ripped out of grass. But when a bait gets ripped out of grass, man, those fish react to it. They lunge at it. And a lot of times they lunge at it and turn away. And any little extra action, that may be the subtle little difference that causes that fish to go ahead and bite that bait, eat it, commit to it, versus flashing on it and turning away. So I really like Lipless crankbaits that shimmy on the fall. The Quake does that, the Snatch doesn't. That's the big difference to me. What brand of cold weather clothing do you use? Striker. Striker is a company that's really prevalent in the northern part of the United States. They have a suit called the Adrenaline suit. That's what I wear down here. It's their thinner suit. I can kind of wear it in all weather a little bit, and we just don't get as cold up here as they get up there. So some of their like ice fishing suits are just too much for down here. But Striker has a great selection of all weather gear, and I'm gonna tell you, for a fisherman, bibs are a problem on the back. Any bibs that are loose around the midsection or loose around the waist, like down through there, they're gonna wear your back out over time. I'm telling you they are, guys. It's gonna cause back problems for you. You want bibs that have a good fit in the middle, right around the waist, just above the waist. And those Strikers do have that, and they have the adjustable elastic straps in the middle with Velcro so that you can tighten them up in the middle, which causes it not to put the stress on your back. It's normal. The weight of the clothing is placed on your waist like it normally is with most of your clothes. So it makes a big difference. It's absolutely 1,000,000% waterproof. Very, very comfortable, very light, but yet keeps you very warm. The Striker Adrenaline suit, which I do link in all of our regular published videos, I link the Striker website in the description. So very, very good stuff. I couldn't recommend it enough. Ice fishing starting here in Wisconsin. Can't wait until bass fishing in April. That's crazy. Ice fishing. It's crazy that you guys are watching from Wisconsin. That's awesome. First of all, that's really, really cool that we got somebody from Wisconsin watching. But man, ice fishing, dude. And I've had people ask me, "Do you want to? Would you ever want to go?" I have no interest in ice fishing. I don't know why. I just don't have any interest. I don't want to go out on ice. I'm kind of scared of it because I'm from Texas and we don't get ice thick enough to go out on, so it's a little intimidating. But man, I don't know about that ice fishing stuff. Y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. What is it with Lake Fork and red plastics? I think it's a brim thing. I think it's a brim thing more than we realize, more so than a crawfish thing. I've seen a lot of brim, especially in the colder time of year, that are like really, really orangish colored. I've even seen brim in the summertime out deep that have come up that have been stunned that have like a lot of kind of bright red to them. So I think we just have some brim species in Lake Fork that carry those oranges and reds in them certain times of the year, and that's why the fish eat a lot of those colored baits. Yep. When does the new Skeeter get here? What color? When the new Skeeter gets here is a great question, because listen, I love Skeeter boats. I could probably go get any bass boat that I wanted to at this point in my career. I've been fortunate, been blessed, but if I could have any boat, the one I would have sitting right there. I love Skeeter boats. I think they're the best boats on the market. When you order a boat from them, they always overestimate, or underestimate, I guess. They always tell you they're going to have a certain date. It's never close to that. It's never close to that. So, I don't know. Last I heard it was January, but in all likelihood, February might be March. I don't really know, to be perfectly honest with you. As far as color, it's going to be very similar. It's going to have the main two colors in this are going to be in it. The black that you see in the middle and the silver down low. It's going to have some red highlights though. The pinstripes, the outline is going to be red. So it'll have a very, very similar look to this one with a little bit more red highlight to it. What's the best setup to use at Lake Texoma? We're going Sunday morning, going to Fork Saturday. Hope it don't rain. It's going to rain. It's going to rain here Saturday morning. It's supposed to clear up around noon or 1, but it's going to rain here Saturday morning. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. Well, I shouldn't say that because you know how weathermen are. They might be completely wrong. Texoma, buddy, I'm not really familiar with Texoma, but I will tell you what we do have. On our Fish Life app, we have a premium package for Lake Texoma that has produced very well over the last couple years. And I would highly recommend subscribing to that Fish Life app Lake Texoma package. And not only is it going to tell you the areas, what type of area it is, it's going to tell you the baits that they're using on those areas. So that would be my suggestion to you on Lake Texoma. Why not wrap the boat to match the truck? Because people recognize me too easy anyway, as it is without a wrap. I'm joking, of course. I don't know. The truck I keep for a long time, and I really don't like getting money from sponsors or having somebody pay for something if I don't feel like I'm going to earn that money. With the truck wrap, I can use that as advertising for years. If I wrap a boat, man, I'm going to be advertising it for a year, tops. And I just feel like for somebody to spend, costs about $3,000 to get a boat wrap somewhere in there, $3,500, something like that. If I'm going to have somebody pay $3,500 to wrap a boat, I feel like I'm not really living up to my end of the obligation, because it's not like having the logos on the wrap isn't the best way of advertising anyway. So I just feel like I'm not really earning my money if I have them wrap the boat. Actually, the guy that wrapped the truck, when he wrapped it, wanted to wrap the boat too, and I was kind of iffy on that. So. Man, there's a lot of comments coming in tonight. Blake Kutcher says, I told J-Bo to come to Tennessee and fish Chickamauga, and I'll meet him there. You should come too. Man, I would love to get over to Chickamauga. I've never been. It's a lake I would definitely like to fish. From what I can tell, I think it's a lake that would suit my eye. I am doing an out-of-town trip between Christmas and New Year's. It's going to have some good content, hopefully. Hopefully you guys will think the content's going to be good, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to keep a secret as to where I'm going and exactly what I'm doing, but we got some cool stuff coming on the channel beginning of the year. Have I used the new ESP rods from 6 Cents? I sure haven't, bud. I sure haven't. How do you identify cats, sand bass, and bass on 2D sonar? I've been told for smaller cats it's going to be blue since it's skin. Bigger cats, it is yellow with a reddish dot on the head. I don't know how to identify different catfish. I can tell which ones are a flathead because of the shape of their head, and that's about it. No, I mean, blue cats and channel cats and flatheads are kind of the 3 species we have, and they're all pretty distinctly different looking, so you can identify them. On 2D sonar, I got no idea how to identify different species of catfish. All I know is I know how to tell bass and things that bass eat. That's what I know how to tell. Since bass are scale fish, they're just going to show yellow. I don't know what you're talking about. There's some crazy stuff going on there. Like, none of that's true as far as identifying fish on 2D sonar. None of it at all. You got to set up with Slade for Saturday at 2, so I hope it stops raining by then. Yeah, Slade's the best guy, man. If you got Humminbird, Slade's like the guy to get them dialed in with. I think it's supposed to stop raining by 2. I think it is. Lake Graham and Leon fish good all winter. Got big bass in both. Nice. Lake Graham and Lake Leon. I don't know exactly where those are, actually. Still learning. So on 2D sonar, so let me go back to that 2D sonar question that you asked. The way to identify bass is more by their shape. And it's a very in-depth conversation about how different species set up in relationship to their spacing between each other and the shape of the school. For me to sit here and go through all that on a live stream is a lot. But what I will tell you, if you'll look up your Lake Fork Guide sonar settings or your Lake Fork Guide identifying bass on sonar, if you just look that up, we've done several sonar videos and we talk about how to identify those different species on your 2D sonars. In depth. Punching bite should be good on Welsh Saturday, you think? Yeah, probably. I would think so. What's the setup, rod, line, and weight? Rod's going to be a 7.6 heavy Lux Series 6-inch rod. Line's going to be 50-pound Power Pro braid, and weight I'm going to go with probably a 1-ounce tungsten. 1-ounce tungsten will be my size weight, and a 5/0 6-inch ox hook, and a 6-inch prawn is what I'll be punching with. I've caught a gazillion fish punching on Lake Welsh with that setup right there. But if the punch and bite doesn't work out, there's a couple of options for you on Lake Welsh. One, get outside of that grass and throw an Alabama rig right around the edges of it. Two, get up shallower inside that grass and look for bedfish, and maybe throw a wacky worm and a chatterbait where the grass scatters. So if you can usually get on the inside shallow line and find some little lanes and areas where it's a little bit more open, you can throw a chatterbait and a wacky worm and catch fish usually. You said you'll always have a Lowrance on the console for mapping. Is their mapping that much better than the others? Their mapping and their ease of function with the customization within the map. So marking waypoints, customizing waypoints, labeling them, using different icons to identify different types of structure, creek channel, humps, whatever, rock piles, different stuff. We've got the biggest selection of icons and the easiest to go in and name. And like I can put a name and description on every waypoint if I want to on Lowrance and change what the icon looks like. So not that their mapping contour lines are necessarily that much better than everybody else. It's the ease of function, the ease of use, and the customization that I can do on a Lowrance map. Yeah, I'll always have a Lowrance right there, no doubt about it, until somebody does something better. Do you think there's any shallow bite on fork right now, or should you focus deeper on those creek channels and bridges? There is, like I said, we're throwing a lipless crankbait around some grass a little bit. There is some shallower grass that you can go catch fish around. There's just not a lot of it. Certainly not enough to really do it day in, day out every day like there used to be. In the recent years. But that shallow bite's going to get affected by these cold fronts worse. So, that's what you got to really consider is this weather that you're going to deal with this weekend. It's the cold trending water. It's going to hit that shallow water harder. And that's why I think that the creek channel fish and a little bit deeper water and those creek channel bends and those bridge fish that are around some deeper water, that's going to be a lot easier for those fish to be willing to bite. Is the $100 loose speed spool a good reel for a weekend warrior bass fisherman? Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a good reel. I would use it for me, an everyday fisherman. Yes. The $100 loose speed spool is a very quality product. There was something else that was asked up here, I think. Big C says, Wheeler says in his electronics video that the reason he keeps Lowrance is because of mapping and waypoint management. 100%. 100%. That's it, man. I'm flattered and honored to know that I actually think the same way as Jacob Wheeler about something, because that guy's as good as it gets when it comes to bass fishing. Avery Gatton said, I fished in shallow water all day and caught two. Listen, I hear some of you guys, and there was somebody else that I saw that I didn't get a chance to read. I was talking about something else, but somebody else said they had 2 donks over 6 pounds. That's winter fishing. There's going to be tough days this time of year. Like, bro, listen, if the Elite Series boys came here right now, a lot of them would struggle to catch fish right now, to catch any fish. Like if the Elite Series came here and had a tournament right now, there'd be some guys that zeroed. There would. You need to understand that that's going to happen in winter fishing. Also understand that if you grind it out and get a few bites, they might be big bites, like really big bites. That's winter bass fishing. That just is what it is. There are big fish to be caught in the winter, but it is hard to get bites in general. You can miss because you typically have to fish so repetitively and so slow through an area. It's not a time of year that you can cover a bunch of water and get bit. You've got to be very thorough in an area to catch fish in it. And if you pick the wrong area, or you just miss the sweet spot on that area, or it just doesn't work out, they just don't bite on that area. Maybe it's a good area to sky fish, but they just didn't bite on that one area. You spend so much time going through it correctly to get a bite that if it doesn't work out, you can get behind the 8 ball real quick. So you guys that are struggling day to day right now, don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. Keep at it. Keep grinding. It'll happen. It'll come. You just got to stay with it. Wacky worm colors. Wacky worm colors are pretty simple for me. Watermelon something and green pumpkin something is kind of how I go with wacky worm colors. Watermelon with some kind of sparkle on a lot of days, especially sunny days. If it's really dark or I'm fishing some really dirty water, I'll throw green pumpkin or something dark, a June bug, something like that. One of the colors that I do like, I throw the 6 Sense Divine Shaky Head Worm on a Wacky rig a lot, and I like that Nirvana color. It's got black with blue flake on one side, green pumpkin on the other. I've had a lot of success on that, and really in all plastics. It's a very good color. Colton Deloach says, I've been struggling on a Numbers Lake, water 50 degrees. Yeah, I mean, and not only is the water 50 degrees, Colton, but the water has been trending cold. Anytime the water trends cold, it's going to make it tougher. And we've had nothing for the last couple weeks. We've had massive cold trend for like 10 days in a row, then a little bit of level out, then more cold trend, then a little bit of level out, then more cold trend, and we're about to get another cold trend. So the water has been falling. There's been no tick back up in the water temps at all over the last few weeks. That's going to make for a really tough bite, guys. It is. It really is. And it's where the guys that are going to have the most success right now, and that's a relative term, right? The most success. But the guys that are going to be the most successful right now are the guys that will just slow down enough and grind and grind and grind. And they'll get a couple of big bites that'll make their day worth it, is what will happen. What about when the level comes up? Yeah, so listen, let me tell you, the real kiss of death will be if we continue with this cold trend and we get rising dirty water along with this cold water. That's the worst bass fishing conditions that exist. Cold, muddy, rising water is the worst bass fishing conditions that can exist. So the deal there is the water's cold, so they already don't want to bite. Then the water rises, which makes them want to go even shallower, which makes them even colder, but they can't really go shallow because they get colder, so they don't go shallow, but they want to go shallow, and they just get in this limbo phase, and it's cold, and they're not wanting to bite anyway, and they get spread out, and it is just a daggum nightmare when the water rises and gets dirty while it's cold. If that happens, whew, son, we all in trouble. Go to the power plant lakes. So under those conditions, what would you do to get a bite? Ugh, golly. It would depend on grass situation. Having grass in a fishery that occurred on would make it a lot better. But I would probably go to very hard reaction bites and a bigger, heavier jig. I would go to like a 3/4 ounce jig and get it around heavy cover. And I would go to a Movement 80X. I would go to a chatterbait, like a black and blue chatterbait. I would go to a spinnerbait with a really big thumping blade on it. Something that caused a lot of vibration in the water, and fish that around very heavy cover, very, very tight to very heavy cover. And I would just grind like that. And I would grind like that all day. And understanding that I might not catch anything. But it's going to be tough, and that way if I catch something, it'll be a reaction bite, it'll be a good quality bite, and it would keep in a tournament and help me out. Early this coming week on a power plant lake, how slow are you going to go? Not too slow. I wouldn't say that I have to fish slow on a power plant lake this early this coming week. I mean, unless I was sight fishing, then of course you got to slow down to sight fish. But no, I wouldn't go slow at all on a power plant lake. It's March on season wise on these power plant lakes. It's March pretty much on all three of them right now, so you can fish. A big white spinnerbait with a thumper Colorado blade. Yeah, boy. Timmy knows the deal. Timmy knows the deal. Man, we've been going 35 minutes. I didn't even realize that. I feel like we just started tonight. Let's get it yeah. Ooh, choking to death. Let's get a little roll call. Who's going to come to the seminar tomorrow and try to get in line for some giveaways? Who's going to be? I want to know who's going to be there. Give me a thumbs up or a hell yeah or something. What's that song? Give me a hell. Give me a yeah. Lake Fork Marina at 6 p.m. That's where we're at. Brandon Lucas said we're at. Timmy Rhodes will be in lunch. Gary Payne's going to be there. Big C's stuck in Houston. That's no bueno. Avery Gatton's going to be there. That's great. Vic Pearsall's in. I'm assuming that means Cody Mays will probably be there too. Oh, goofy looking butt. What else y'all want to talk about tonight before we get off? Anything else? Thinking about it. Long drive from Bossier. That is a long drive, John Sherrod. I totally understand that. Wish I could, but Saturday morning at 3 a.m. is a hard turnaround. I understand, brother. I understand. We got a lot of guys that are working. I hear you. I hear you. I hear y'all. How do you register a boat without a title? Oh, my God. Unless your boat is one of the giveaways, then I'll find a way. My boat is not a giveaway. I'm sorry. I wish it was. Let's do a Hallbrook January tournament. Okay? Deal. Let's do a Hallbrook January tournament. What's my favorite high-end swim bait other than the HPH? Gangcraft Jointed Claw. Like a Gangcraft Jointed Claw. Really good. Really like it a lot. Somebody said I saw something else up here. What was it? Liberal Tears. We need some Liberal Tears. Oh, did we do this one? I think we did this one on Facebook the other night. I don't remember. Maybe we did it here. Maybe my best Liberal Tears ever was this one. I think I said it on Facebook the other night, so I'll say it again here. All right, 10 seconds in Liberal Tears. Let's go. So one of the most popular movies in recent memory is The Hunger Games. And everybody in Hollywood, pretty much, for the most part, leans left, definitely. And they love to celebrate, Katniss Everdeen is like the character. That's the hero of the movie. And I don't know if they really realize this, but hey, liberals, did y'all know that Katniss Everdeen was a conservative and President Snow was a liberal? Really, really was. Like, that's true. So, y'all go cry about that, liberals. I feel like I've already done it before, so I got to come with another Liberal Tears. I didn't have any that I thought of. I don't know. How about this? Here's a simple one. Hey, liberals, Donald Trump is still your president. Just so you know, he's still your president. I'm just saying. Brandon Lucas, I live 2 hours. No, you live 2 hours from Hollyweird? That sucks, bro. I mean, I guess. I don't know. Maybe you love it there. Who does guide trips to Hallbrook? I got a tournament there in February. Man, I can definitely run guide trips on Hallbrook. I know it extremely well. It's really close to my house, and I used to fish it a ton. I've actually won several tournaments on Hallbrook, like quite a few. Quite a few. I saw somebody ask, what's my favorite color stroker crawl? My favorite color stroker crawl might be Nirvana. I really like that Nirvana color. Really do. I throw the Nirvana one a lot. If I'm just throwing it as a standalone bait, not a jig trailer, I throw the Nirvana one a lot. If I'm throwing it as a jig trailer, I just match the jig, of course. Bryant White says, I can't even say the word liberal without getting mad. That's funny. there is some pretty messed up stuff that the liberal party is doing, man. It's there's some serious problems with it, obviously there's some real serious stuff, and we joke around with it and have fun, but if we wanted to have a serious discussion we could. But golly, man, the things that the liberals are doing in this country, and not just, I shouldn't say liberals, it's the political establishment. Republicans are just dang near just as bad in my opinion, and it's awful. We are all getting taken massively advantage of. The political corruption in this country, and the way that they take advantage of us is out of control. And I'm going to tell you why they get away with it is because we are, in all honesty, and nobody wants to own up to this or hear this, we are spoiled. Americans are spoiled. It is, a country with, golly, so much opportunity. I mean, we're maybe the only place in the history of the world where our poorest people are our fattest people. That's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to get in shape because it's fun. Throughout history, people are skinny because they're hungry, because they're poor. Our poorest people are the fattest demographic in the country. It is really unbelievable how spoiled we are as a country. And that's why the politicians get away with being corrupt and taking advantage of us. Because we've all got so much stuff. Like, Susie's got cheerleading camp, and Johnny's got a baseball game, and man, we got a fishing tournament, and there's no way that anybody would rather go get shot at for real than fish a tournament. So ain't nobody sacrificing all the good they have in their life. I mean, even our poorest people get government checks and all this. Like, they get to participate in all. They've got heat, they've got air, they've got transportation, they've got kids in youth sports, they've got TV, they've got entertainment, they've got friends. Our most downtrodden people have all those things. So nobody's going to sacrifice all the good they have to really go and cause effective change. As bad as we feel like it is, my honest perspective is, from my opinion, is that it will have to get much worse before a massive amount of people will actually take action to effect change. So we're just kind of stuck. We got what we got. Meanwhile, as much as it does suck to watch you get taxed, and man, that healthcare bill with Obama and the way they forced us to pay money into healthcare when we already had healthcare was like infuriating. And it's not a tax, and then it is a tax. And there was so much that went on with that was so corrupt and so wrong. And they just reached into your pockets and stole money for a government program that we did not want. This coronavirus thing, dude, listen, I don't care how dangerous the coronavirus is. You should not be allowed to shut businesses down in mass quantity across the country. And you do not have a right to tell me what to wear. I'm not wearing a mask, period, if I don't want to. That's up to me as an individual if I want to take that risk. Individual accountability and responsibility is what it's about. That's freedom. That's what comes with freedom. And now you're taking that away. And they're like, well, they're not taking your freedom away. They're just asking you to make a mask. Yes, they are. Yes, they are taking your freedom away. You don't get to tell me what risk I take in this country. Now, if I'm putting others at risk or putting others' property at risk, then you can step in and tell me what to do. But me wearing a mask doesn't make you more likely to get any virus if you're wearing a mask. And these flu numbers, wake up on these flu numbers, people. Oh, well, the flu isn't just down like 90%. It's all-time massively record low numbers for the flu because we're wearing masks and social distancing. No, it's not. It's because they're calling everything corona. Every time somebody gets a fever, they go get tested. And if there's anything that looks like coronavirus, boom, they got coronavirus. I truly believe there's people that are getting diagnosed with coronavirus that actually have the flu. How else? It's a lot like these election numbers. You're not going to massively drop flu numbers by 90% in 1 year. It's not going to happen by wearing masks. Not going to happen. If you believe that, then you're just ignorant. I'm sorry, but you are. And if you believe that there wasn't fraud in this election, you're ignorant. If you believe there wasn't fraud in the last 3 or 4 elections, you're ignorant, for that matter. And how the hell does Nancy Pelosi's husband, he owns the voting software or something, like he's on the board or something like that? How is that even possible? That should make her ineligible for office. Listen, if you or your husband sits on the board for Dominion voting software, you shouldn't be eligible for office. I've got a rule that should be put in place that I think would help tremendously. How about this? How about if you make 1 penny more than your annual salary while you're an elected official, it's a federal crime and you go to the penitentiary. How about that? I mean, granted, I know they'd work out brother-in-law deals and get it afterwards, but maybe it would slow it down some. I mean, this corruption and these kickbacks and you're supposed to be going into a public service office that makes good money but not great money, and then all of a sudden you're a multi-millionaire when you get out of office. It's insane that we're going to sit here and let it continue to happen because Johnny's got baseball and we got a derby on Saturday, boys. We got to go catch them up. It'll slowly get worse and worse and worse. And then someday, my children, my children's children, one of these generations is going to have to do something about it. I would much rather us do something about it now. But I'm going to take the burden on, not put it off, guy. I'm a stand up and fight guy. I've proven that when I stood on some yellow footprints and volunteered for the United States Marine Corps. I will fight the fight for others. I'm very aware of that. It's a trait that I've had since I was a kid. I've been one that would stand up for others, and I can get picked on and I can get messed with, and I'll put up with it for a long time. But when I feel like somebody else is getting messed with, I will jump in and I will lose my head and I'll make bad decisions. Yeah, that's a great point, Big C, talking about the politicians that come out rich versus a guy like Trump that loses net worth. When guys come in there, like they want to vilify Trump. And listen, he's easy to vilify because he says crazy things. And I wish sometimes he wouldn't be so crazy. And I wish sometimes that he wouldn't, I wish he had somebody monitoring his Twitter tweets before they go out sometimes. I do. It makes him hard to root for, the way he carries himself. I get that. But they want to make him out to be like a liar and corrupt and all this. Hey, folks, this dude's donated his entire salary while he's been president. That's never happened. No politician's ever done that. It is a crying shame, an absolute crying shame, what we allow to go on so that we can have our comfortable lifestyle. In my opinion. This is all my opinion and my opinion alone. Has nothing to do with anybody that I represent, pro staff wise. It ain't got nothing to do with 6 Cents. It ain't got nothing to do with Skeeter. It ain't got nothing to do with Smash Tag. It ain't got nothing to do with nobody. This is Billy Lawson's opinion. Jake Morgan said the first debate is not. No, I don't agree with that. I appreciate that opinion. He said the first debate is what lost him the election. That was bad. That was really bad. I don't think that's what lost him the election. I think the voter fraud. I do subscribe that the voter fraud lost him the election. Dude, there's no way that we have record number of votes on both sides. There's no way that Milwaukee County has a 98% turnout. Get the hell out of here. You know what voter turnouts normally are? They're like 60%. You don't have a 98% turnout. It doesn't happen. Those numbers, you don't count. You don't get 100,000 plus votes that come in and register all at once, and 100% of them are for one side. 0 votes for Trump out of 100,000. I don't care what county you're in. That's not happening. Not happening. Ever. No way. Why did we not count votes in Nevada the day after the election? It's once every 4 years, and we're just not gonna count votes the day after the election. What? And I'm sitting here saying all this, and I'm just as guilty as anybody, because it ain't like I'm out here organizing protests, you know? Until all the people that believe that we're being done wrong stand together and quit their job and take time off work and miss some soccer games and don't go fishing and go fight that fight, nothing's going to change. It's just going to keep progressively getting worse. So, I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I'm not giving up my comforts right now, so I'm as much to blame as anybody is. Our poor kids, that's right, our poor kids. And you know what? I've got 2 boys, and I'm really hard on them. I'm really tough on them, and I'm trying to teach them that they are going into an evil, corrupt world. And I know that's a terrible way to parent, but I'm trying to prepare them for the world that they're going to end up in, and that they need to stand up for what's right, stand up for others, and help others. And they need to make up their own mind about what's right, and they need to fight for it. That's how I want to raise my children, and that's how I'm trying to. Boy, this live stream took a turn. That escalated quickly. Yeah. Oh, listen, I'm a laid-back, fun-loving guy, but you get me on something that I feel like is worth fighting for, and I will stand up and get after it. And I think that's probably about enough of that topic for tonight. Our grandkids may not have the freedom to go fishing like we do. They may not. They may not have a lot of things that we've had and that generations before us have had. You know, the thing about this country that we've got to remember is everybody acts like this has been going on forever, because in the scope of your own life, it has always been a certain way in this country. This country is young. Very, very young. I mean, this country is what, 250 years old, give or take, 245, something like that. About like that. Dude, that's like 3 people ago. You know what I'm saying? It's just 3 lifetimes. Maybe 4. That's not very many generations of people that have lived in America as it is now. And as it is now, it wasn't this way until after the Civil War, and really after the Civil Rights movement, and we started progressing throughout the 70s and 80s. That's when we really came into modern America. It's really only been one generation that's lived in the country as it is now, as profitable, as plentiful as it is now. It can all go wrong real quick. There's plenty of other societies that had much more long-lasting reigns of success, empires, with reigns of success much longer than America's, that crashed and burned, big time. So, it can turn quick. And I'll tell you when it turns. It turns when the good men become indifferent. That's when it turns. When the good men, the leaders of the communities, stand-up men that do the right thing when nobody's looking, when they become indifferent to the problems that are going on and ignore them, that's when it turns and heads the wrong direction. And it's looking like we're actively doing that right now. So this is what we get. Don't blame anybody else. Really, when it comes down to it, don't blame the liberals, folks. Don't blame the people that think what they're standing for is right on the other side. Blame yourselves. Blame us. I blame me. I haven't done as much as I should to be active in my community if this stuff bothers me that much. I haven't. And I bet most of y'all would say that y'all haven't either. Yeah, we vote, but we haven't sacrificed anything to try and make this place better. I haven't. I mean, maybe some of y'all have, but most of us haven't. So really, it's on us. I see a comment right there. It's time for a fight to get our country back. And listen, man, if you believe that, then you've got to do something about it. And I don't mean fight. Understand, I am not condoning violent action. I do not condone what Black Lives Matter has done. I do not condone what the left. Now, you can blame the left for these violent protests. That is ridiculous. That's absurd. I do not condone us going to arms with each other. That's not what we want. I promise you that's not what we want. Ultimately, if things got bad enough and it came to that, do you have to do what you have to do? Yeah. Folks, we're not close to that yet. We're not close to that yet. Nowhere close to it yet. So that's a little bit extremist talk there when you start talking about a civil war, in my opinion. And you may disagree with me, and that's okay, and I don't disrespect you for that, and I hope you don't disrespect me for disagreeing with you, but it's not close to that, in my opinion. It is time for us to start maybe giving up some of our comforts to go make our voices heard and to educate people, to educate those that maybe aren't educated. Make sure your children understand politics and understand what they're voting for. Make sure your friends understand it. Let's talk about it. Nobody ever wants to talk politics at the cookout. Why not? It's one of the most important topics that we can talk about. And if we can't have a discussion about it without getting mad at each other and losing our tempers, well, then you don't care enough about the topic. Talk about it with some respect in your heart for the other side, but talk about it. Let's educate each other. Some great comments coming in. I know you guys always like these. A lot of you guys like it when we get on this stuff. Jake Morgan, who's a young man, said, yeah, it's important to teach politics. I had no idea about it until 2 years ago. Hey, man, when I was your age, Jake, I didn't have any idea about it either. Am I going to do trout fishing? No, I'm not. No. I mean, maybe some people like trout fishing. Dude, listen, and this probably limits a lot of my growth potential. Like, a lot of these professional YouTube channels, not knocking them, it's their job to go get clicks, but they'll go multi-species fishing to get more clicks on different. Dude, I'm bass fishing, bro. Like, that's what I do. I'm a one-trick pony. It's all I care to do. It's all I want to do. It's all I've ever loved to do when it comes to fishing. I always love bass fishing more than all of it. Listen, I enjoyed hunting. I enjoyed crappie fishing. But I've always would rather be bass fishing when I was doing outdoor activities. So bass fishing is what I do. One day you might see a crappie video on here, so I can just go catch some crappie and put them in the freezer. And I think we have had a white bass, yellow bass video on here when I took my kids out and let them catch a bunch of white bass. We filmed that one time. I guess some folks are wanting to get off the politics and talk fishing. What's a lake on the rise in Texas? On the rise? None of them right now. It's too cold. Choke Canyon. Choke Canyon is a lake that a lot of people have been talking about a lot. It's been hot the last couple of years, and it's been getting talked about a lot, which means it'll soon be on the decline probably because it's not a very big lake. I think O.H. Ivy is kind of getting good again. I know Possum Kingdom's had a good couple of years, a little run with a couple good years. Probably those, which are all West Texas lakes. I guess just because they've caught more water. I don't know. It probably has a lot to do with it. They were South Texas, West Texas lakes that were really really low for a while, and they've caught some water over the last few years. It's kind of given them a little new lake syndrome type deal, and that may have been what caused them to get good again. Because that's a real thing on those West Texas, South Texas lakes. When they get low and stay low for an extended amount of years, and when they all of a sudden come back up again, it gets real good in the few years after that. Real good. Less of the nutrients replenish, and then the lake comes up over those new nutrients, and they get fertile, and it gets after it, man. I guess we're just going to talk all night. How long y'all want to keep this live stream going? We keep it going. We keep it going, man. I don't know what else I'm going to do. Since you mentioned Striker, do I have a discount? I don't have a discount code with Striker. I sure don't, brother. I'm sorry. I wish I did. That'd be good. Maybe I need to talk to him about it. I mean, I know. I've got a rep that I talked to over there that I think I'm going to take him fishing here pretty soon. Sharks are fun. Sharks are fun. I really like catching sharks. I like catching cobia. Cobia are fun to catch. Sharks are fun to catch. Redfish are fun to catch. I would not be opposed to going and filming a redfish video, and that I can get down with. Of course, redfish is just bass fishing on steroids, really. Honestly. Especially if you're up in the flats doing it up shallow. Kyle Welcher reps for a Striker. Cool. I didn't know that. Ooh, best fishing trip ever was Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. 60 smallies, all over 4 pounds. Good Lord. Yeah, Sturgeon Bay's got some donks. Old mule head smallies up there. Colton says, me and Brett Wren talked about coming on a trip soon with you. Man, I need to holler at Brett. I hadn't talked to him recently. I know he's had a tough year. Man, I love that guy. He's a customer that's fished with me for a lot of years. I hadn't seen him in a while, but him and his son have come on a few trips with me, and they're good people. Good people. I think the last time I saw him face to face, he came out with me this spring, I believe. The day that I broke my trolling motor and fell in the lake. Easy to remember that day. Oh no. Went out and caught some crappie on Wacky today. Please pray for the family of the drowned officer. Happened yesterday. Body recovered today. I did not even hear about that. Good night. Man, that is terrible. Yeah, I didn't know about that, but apparently an officer drowned. We do need to pray for him and his family. That's terrible. I wasn't aware of that. It can happen, folks, on the water. The water can be a dangerous place. You got to respect the power of the water. It can get away from you. Pre-spawn bite is all I can think about. Can't wait for another dirty 30. That's right. I'm with you on that, Han. I'm with you on that. Jeremy Schwartzwelder says, talking politics as others is like someone creating an app with all the good fishing spots. Lots of folks get bent out of shade. They do, but it's up to you to just keep your cool and keep the educational conversation rolling, you know? That's what it is. What's my PB? Man, I hate that conversation. Because I'm a guide, right? So I always am trying to make other people, most of the time I'm trying to make other people catch the biggest fish. My PB is a 10.6. But I've had 3 over 12 get caught by people with me. The biggest one anybody's ever caught with me was a 12-pound, 13-ounce fish. And she was post-spawn. She was huge. She was post-spawn 12, 13. That was cool. Caught her at the end of May on a Carolina rig. Yeah, my PB is on this channel somewhere. I've got a 2 or 3 double-digit fish that I've caught on this channel somewhere. Hey, that counts as an assist. That's right. That's a good thing about being a fishing guy. You get credit whether you catch them or the other people catch them in your boat. You get credit no matter who catches them in your boat. That's right. That's good stuff. All right. Well, hey, man, we've gone over an hour. The questions are slowing down. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Hey, come see us at the seminar if you're in the area. We'll be doing some big giveaways tomorrow out of my personal tackle stash. Do a little Merry Christmas, end of the year send-off for the the seminars we do every other week up there at Lake Fork Marina at 6 p.m. Man, thank you guys as always so much for watching. Thank y'all for everything you've done for me over the years. We've been going 4 years strong now on this channel, and it is really, 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 really cool, man, what's going on and the lifestyle that I've gotten to live thanks to you guys. So just thank you. Come out tomorrow night. If you're there in person, I'll get to thank you personally, and we'll do some giveaways. We'll have a good time. Hey, we'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.